John and Margaret had always shared a passion for health and fitness, making them a well-matched pair in every way. With his athletic build and her dedication to staying in shape, they were often the envy of their friends and neighbors. Together, they faced every challenge life threw at them with unwavering determination. But recently, life had taken an unexpected turn. John, who had been successful in his field for years, lost his job. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, with no luck finding work in his area of expertise. His confidence began to waver, and Margaret could sense the frustration building behind his calm demeanor. One evening, after what felt like yet another endless day of job searching, John returned home. Margaret greeted him with her usual bright smile, but tonight, John's expression was different, hopeful yet cautious. "I have some news," he began, taking her hands in his. "I finally got an offer." Margaret's eyes lit up instantly. "That's amazing, John. Tell me everything." He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "It's a good job with decent pay, but there's a catch. I'd have to work at night." Margaret's smile softened. She knew how challenging this would be for them, with their usual routine and active lifestyle. But she also understood how much he needed this change. "Night shifts might be tough, but if it's what you need, we'll make it work," she said, her voice filled with encouragement. John felt a surge of relief. He knew he could count on Margaret's support, no matter what lay ahead. Margaret's eyes sparkled with mischief as she replied, "Well, that's perfect. You'll be home during the day, so you can look after our daughter while I'm at work." She laughed, giving him a playful nudge. Margaret worked as a successful manager in the sales department of a thriving company. Her team was nearly all women, and she was highly valued by her colleagues and supervisors alike. Her hard work and dedication had earned her respect and a generous salary, allowing her to help support their family comfortably while John looked for his footing again. 2 months had passed, and life seemed to be settling into a comfortable rhythm. John's night shifts were paying well, and the strain of his previous job loss began to fade. Margaret was proud of how they'd adjusted, each supporting the family in their own way. Their daughter spent most evenings with her grandmother, allowing John and Margaret to focus on their work without worry. One evening, as Margaret was wrapping up at the office, her colleague suggested a night out at a popular club in town. It had been ages since she'd let herself relax outside of work and family, and the idea was tempting. After a moment's thought, she smiled and agreed. She reasoned that John would be busy with his night shift, and their daughter was happily settled at her grandmother's house for the evening. It was the perfect chance to unwind and enjoy a carefree night with friends. Margaret and her colleagues were enjoying themselves at the club, laughing and sharing stories over drinks. It had been a while since Margaret let loose, and the atmosphere felt like a refreshing escape from her usual routine. After a while, she excused herself to go to the restroom. But as she returned, she noticed the club's atmosphere had shifted. All eyes were on the stage, where a man had begun a mesmerizing dance. At first, Margaret laughed along with her friends, but as she focused on the dancer, her smile faded. Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized the man on stage. It was John. She froze, unable to process what she was seeing. Her husband, the man who had told her he was working night shifts, was now dancing on stage, surrounded by an adoring crowd. Before she could fully register her shock, One of her colleagues leaned in, noticing Margaret's stunned expression. "Margaret," her friend said, grinning, "that handsome guy started working here 2 months ago. He's become quite popular, especially with the ladies." Margaret stared in disbelief as her friend continued casually, "He's not just a dancer. For the right price, he'll spend the night with you. I actually tried his services recently. He's absolutely amazing." Margaret's world spun as her friend's words sank in, leaving her reeling with a mix of shock, confusion, and betrayal. Margaret left the club in a daze, her mind racing with everything she'd just discovered. She barely registered the bustling streets as she made her way home, her heart pounding with a mixture of disbelief and anger. The quiet of their home felt surreal, a stark contrast to the chaos of her thoughts. She settled onto the couch, her eyes fixed on the clock, watching the minutes tick by as she waited for John to return. A storm of questions filled her mind, but she knew one thing: tonight, she would finally get the answers she needed. When John finally walked through the door, Margaret was waiting, her expression resolute yet filled with hurt. "John," she began, trying to keep her voice steady, "I know what you've been doing at night. I went to the club tonight with my colleagues. I saw you." She paused, watching his reaction. "And I heard everything from the other women." John's face paled, and he ran a hand through his hair. "Margaret, let me explain." She interrupted, her voice breaking. "You've been working there for months, and you never told me. The dancing and the other things?" She swallowed hard, searching his face for an answer. "Why, John?" He stepped closer, reaching for her hands. "Margaret, I did this because I had to. I was desperate. Losing my job. It made me feel helpless. I needed to do something to support us." Margaret pulled her hands back, still wrestling with her emotions. "But to do this? And those women, John, they don't see you as just a dancer. They pay you to. She struggled with the words, the hurt evident in her eyes. "To me, it's just a job," John said firmly. "It's work, Margaret. I never wanted you to find out like this, but I love only you. My heart belongs to you and our daughter. It's nothing more than a way to make money." Margaret's expression softened as she heard the sincerity in his voice. "So, it doesn't mean anything to you?" she asked quietly. He shook his head, holding her gaze. "Not a thing. Every night, I'm just counting down the hours until I can come back home to you." She took a deep breath, feeling the tension slowly ease. "All right," she whispered, "I believe you. Just no more secrets, John." John nodded, relief filling his face. "I promise, Margaret. No more secrets." 6 months had passed since that difficult night, and things had begun to settle down for John and Margaret. True to his word, John left his night job behind and started fresh as a fitness trainer at a local gym. It was work he enjoyed, using his passion for fitness to help others reach their goals. However, some of his former clients from the club soon found him at the gym, hoping to continue their old arrangements. Each time, John politely but firmly set the boundaries. "I'm only a fitness trainer now," he would say with a reassuring smile. "Nothing more." He stayed focused on his work and his family, determined to rebuild the trust he had nearly lost. For Margaret, seeing him handle these situations with integrity only strengthened her belief in their future together.